Yeah, again, the idea of audacity has played a big part in my life. I mean, who in their right mind has the audacity to think they could make a living performing magic tricks, right? Like that's bananas. It's a bananas premise, particularly because my original path was I was going to be a medical doctor. Like that was the plan. I was going to be a medical doctor, and I ended up being a magician. Mom's so proud. Actually, she really is. She really is.
I'm curious, what was the conversation you said, forget school, I'll be a magician. What was that like?
Right? Well, I mean, I fell into this.
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stephenson, the Odd Man.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, where our ongoing goal is to help you live your best audacious life ever. I'm totally thrilled that you could be a part of our journey with us, and thank you for sharing this space and helping us grow and develop and become better than we were. Together, we'll explore ideas and stories and insights that will inspire boldness and creativity in our everyday lives. Now, imagine standing at the edge of a vast starry sky, each star representing a dream that you hold dear. Just like a magician conjures wonder from thin air, our dreams have the power to ignite our creativity and transform our reality. In today's episode, we dive into this enchanting concept with our guest, Derek Selinger, who reminds us that dreaming big is not just an act of imagination, it's the very magic that makes our aspirations come to life. Derek is an acclaimed magician and creative facilitator known for his unique approach to magic that transcends mere entertainment. With performances that have reached audiences across 4 continents and appearances on shows like Penn Teller Fool Us, Derek uses his craft to inspire deeper connections and foster creativity in both personal and corporate settings. His journey from an aspiring medical doctor to successful magician showcases the audacity of following one's dreams. His ability to weave magic into conversations about creativity and connection make him a perfect fit for this episode, where we'll explore the importance of dreaming big and embracing the magic within us. So now that we've got you all set up, let's turn to our chat with Derek. Enjoy. Hey, Derek, thank you for joining me here today on the Audacious Living Podcast. This is great to have you. Thank you for making the time to be here, my friend.
Oh man, it's great to be here. I love the name of your podcast. The idea of living audaciously is fantastic. I could get right into that for sure.
I tell you, it's one of these things. I know for me, when the very start of the journey, I knew what I wanted. I knew I wanted to share. I knew I had something to share, and I didn't know exactly what it was until and it was at the happy marriage one day where I woke up. I was like, wait a second, this is it. It has to be audacious. Like, what else can it be? And
Yep.
the cool thing, at least for me, and maybe I'll get your thoughts on this, but when you sort of stop and every so often I go this sort of reflection period of my life, like where I'm at, what have I done, what can I do more, am I happy with my choices and decisions? I go through that every so often. And when I did this sort of analyzation of sort of where I was, I started to see, like, I went here to go here, like all the decisions and choices lined up. And some of those decisions and choices I made were like, I don't know, I'm going to give it a shot anyways, right? I don't know, like that's or there were maybe, I know you talk you talk about encouraging the importance of dreaming, right? Some of these things I thought, well, let me try this and see, and I've always wanted to do that. Let me try that, and everything lined up to bring me to the point where I am now. And I would say that that's probably normal for a lot of people. Like everything that they've done is brought into we are a collection of experiences, right? And so that's what I found in my own life. You are a magician. You encourage wonder and dreaming, and just the idea, even when you say you're a magician, you have to smile, right? Because of
Yeah.
the wonders and the possibilities and the joy and the amazement and excitement. All I can go on and on with all the great adjectives to describe what magic does for people. and again, dreaming big is a big part of what you do. So maybe as a starting point, we'll open this up and get you to bring in the conversation and share our listeners a little bit about who you are and what you do and what brought you to this point.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, again, the idea of audacity has played a big part in my life. I mean, who in their right mind has the audacity to think they could make a living performing magic tricks, right? Like that's bananas. It's a bananas premise, particularly because my original path was I was going to be a medical doctor. Like that was the plan. I was going to be a medical doctor, and I ended up being a magician. Mom's so proud. Actually, she really is. She really is.
I'm curious, what was the conversation you said, forget school, I'll be a magician. What was that?
Right? Well, I mean, I fell into this. And like you said, it's a collection of decisions that lead to where you're going to be. And sometimes those decisions end up in failure. You may take an audacious move, and that move may end up in a dead end, but that's still good data. You still need that data because we're looking for the right fit for us, our life, and our expressions.
Yep.
So I'm thankful for those dead ends, and I have many. I wanted to be like a professional basketball player. Okay. Turns out I don't have the athletic ability, but I coached college basketball for 7 years, right? So these things happen. But so I perform magic for a living, but I perform a very unique style of magic. Of course, I've done the big stage shows, and I performed for millions of people in 4 continents. I was on Penn Teller's Fool Us. I performed on cruise ships for a while, all of those big things. Even center ice at a hockey game, my friend. Flames, wow. Oilers, right in the middle, in the middle of the ice. Yeah, cut my wife in half. Yeah, it was good fun. And as Canadians, we know the hockey is, that's the thing. But my take on magic and where I've taken it is to use magic as a tool to help people connect to deeper conversations in their life. I do this in social situations where we have a show called Box of Wonders, and 12 people sit around a table, and I invite these people to connect to their histories, their past. And then we also leverage that in the corporate world for executive teams, and I help them think about how to be creative forces in this and turn chaos into creativity in this rather insane world. And magic opens the door for discussions that cannot exist without it. It creates asymmetrical corporate training, and it's super fun. And that's a little bit about me. Yeah.
Well, you talk about chaos and magic. In my mind, it really encourages you to think beyond the borders, outside of the lines. Magic almost gives you permission to dream beyond your present circumstances and think beyond what you think is possible. And that's a very empowering way of thinking. When you can bring that to individuals, that's magical stuff, no pun intended.
Yeah, thank you. I agree. I think in North America primarily, maybe it's all of Western civilization, we overanalyze our moves, and we analyze too early. Analysis, like you actually said, like you analyzed and looked at how you got to where you are. We need analysis. I'm not saying we shouldn't analyze, but we do it too quickly. We often nip our dreams in the bud before with like harsh analysis before we've even explored the possibility. Gotcha. And I wonder how many things could be created if people just gave themselves the permission to play, to have ideas, and to run with them for just a while. Yeah. And yes, of course, like, the question of, well, how are you going to make a living at magic like that? How are you going to make the money at that? That's an important question, but not when you first start. When you first start, you need to just let the dreams run.
Again, it's giving permission to people to dream. It's a powerful thing, and I'm a really big fan of that. Can we go back? Like you said, you fell into it. Like how do you fall to magic?
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, something happened to me when I was 8, and maybe this is the catalyst that'll set up all of the steps that I'll quickly run through. Okay. Yeah. And when I was 8, my mom sat me down at the kitchen table, pour me a glass of milk. I was going through a tough time. I was being bullied. I had a speech impediment that I still have to battle a little bit. I went through speech pathology training. I also have a type of dyslexia that happens when you're in stress. Okay. So I was an awkward kid, right? And I was not having a good time. My mom sat me down and said, Derek, I need to tell you something. And I just want you to understand that you're special and you have a purpose. Parents are supposed to say that. But my mom kind of put a little cherry on top of this story, because she said, when I was pregnant with you, in the first trimester of pregnancy, I was electrocuted. Oh. And shocked, she didn't die. Right. But she grabbed 220 volts and it almost killed her. They rushed her to the hospital. In the hospital, they're like, well, we think you're going to be okay, but we don't know about your baby. It's first trimester. Yeah. It probably won't survive. And if it does, it will not be normal, which is true. Which is true. They
didn't know.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. And at 8, I had 2 really distinct thoughts. The first will not be a surprise. It's that I have superpowers, right? I was shocked, man.
Can I fly, right? Like you're doing it.
Dude, I'm telling you, I went upstairs to my bedroom after this and I started jumping off the bed trying to fly until my dad's like, what are you doing up there?
I'm trying to activate my flying ability.
Seriously. Right? Maybe that's why I became a magician. I wanted to find the flight.
Amazing. I love it.
And the second thought as an 8-year-old, and this is a profound thought as an 8-year-old. Yeah. The second thought was, my life's a gift. The fact that I'm alive is a miracle. It's amazing to be alive. It hit me. It hit me so strong at 8 years old. And it really changed the way I saw the world at 8 forward. And all the way through my adolescence into my adulthood, I was always looking for that thing that I needed to do, right? This sense of purpose. What is it? Now, for many of those years throughout my adolescence, I never dreamt it could have been magic. I mean, I started performing magic tricks because it gave me social power. So as an awkward kid, it broke the ice with adults and with my peers, so I could do something that was interesting. And let's face it, it helped me talk to girls. And so it was a bit of a tool, a bit of a gimmick all the way through my adolescence. Mm-hmm. But in college, I met another magician who was really good, who showed me the books I needed to buy to start to learn. I started doing that. And then I have this audacious story for you that you're going to love. This is like peak audacity in my life. Mm-hmm. I went to a magic show in Edmonton, Alberta.
Okay.
A Vegas headliner was doing a show there, and I loved this guy. He was like one of my heroes in magic. I went to a show, and the next day he had a workshop where you spent $100 and the magicians would come in and learn. Okay. Well, I didn't have $100, but I figured it out, spent the money. And I went into the room, and it was a boardroom with a long table.
Okay.
So I got there early because I always try to get to the important dates with destiny early.
Nice.
And I put the most comfortable chair at the head of the table. And I sat next to it. And I told everybody that that's where Jeff is going to sit. So when they come in, no, you can't sit there. That's where Jeff's going to sit. And guess what? Jeff McBride, this master magician, came in early as well, and he sat at the head of the table. And he turned to me and said, Derek, nice to meet you. I'm Jeff McBride. What kind of magic do you perform? Like a little bit of card magic. He's like, show me something. I nervously perform something for this master. He gives me a couple tips and he teaches a session. At the end, he turns to me and says, I think you need to come to Las Vegas and study with me. And that was as we say in Canada, the TSN turning point.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
That was the moment where things really changed, because I started going to Las Vegas once every month or two and studying with Jeff McBride and Eugene Berger, and these Lance Burton was there, and Matt King was in the room at times. Like all these masters of the art began to teach me and a few others what it takes to make it in this industry, and that changed everything for me. All because I put a comfortable chair at the head of it.
Well, that's again. So the key is the big comfy chair. I got to go back. What did he see in you to be able to say, I want you to come to Vegas?
Mm-hmm. So, logically speaking, deconstructing it, he was beginning to look, he was just starting his magic mentorship process.
Okay.
So he was on the look for people that he thought would be good fits for his master classes.
Okay.
I was part of his second master class ever. So crassly, he was looking for students, and I was eager, crassly. But I'd like to think that he saw, just even me performing this, having, again, the audacity to perform a card trick that is a classic card trick for a master of the art. Like, I know that he knows how this trick is done, but I still went for it. I'd like to think that what he saw in me was potential. I was not good yet. I was not polished. I was none of those things. But what I'd like to think is what he saw was potential. And actually, I went through a bit of a crisis right after that, because after the show, I was talking to a friend and I told them, and they're like, oh man. And I said, I don't know if I'm going to do it though. And they're like, why? I'm like, I'm not good enough yet. I need to practice for a year, then I'll go. And my friend said to me, you're an idiot. Like, this opportunity is here now. If you don't do this, you'll regret it the rest of your life. And I'm glad for that.
We're always waiting for that perfect moment, aren't we? That time,
right?
Listen, I'll do this.
We're never ready.
Lines up perfectly.
We're never ready, are we? We're never ready. You got to do it. You got to go.
No, I remember the very first time I said, and I've been podcasting for a while. I think I went like 2008 when I launched my very, very first one.
Wow, you're OG, man.
Oh yeah, I had no idea what I was doing. Me and a buddy of mine just wanted to talk basketball. So we had an NBA podcast.
Awesome.
And in fact, true story. We were back then I'm not going to say first. I could give away saying the first. I'm going to say we were the second credentialed podcast is allowed to go into the Toronto Raptors locker room. Right. And so we were credential, which was back then. We were the second one. I'm the first. I could say this first, but no, give the guy ahead of us to just do his praise. But the point is, when we started, and I remember vividly saying, I don't know, like, let's try it anyways, but let's see. And then so we talk about that whole audacious, bold, courageous, bold thing. That's where that comes in. But throughout the years, I think I probably have had 5 or 6 different podcasts throughout the years that, different focuses, different whatever. They've all done well. They've done, and I've had fun with them, because that was really a lot of it, me having fun too. So a lot of them done well, had fun, great messages, that kind of stuff, great stories, all sort of thing. And in 2020, at the end of 2020, when I said I wanted to launch the Audacious Living Podcast, I was like, I don't know if I could do this. I totally ignore the fact that I've had all this mileage behind me, right? I've done them time and time again. I've lost track. There's hundreds of thousands of hours of podcasts or online somewhere that I put out, and I'm going to launch another one. And what do I say? Yeah, I don't know if I can. So
fascinating.
We do it all the time to ourselves. That's my point.
That's so true. Like, we constantly run in this wheel of self-doubt. And I think that's, for the folks listening who hear somebody that's accomplished something kind of neat, like running long-term podcasts or performing on stage in front of millions magic shows, you're like, oh, well, you're very lucky, or, you've got something I don't. And the truth is that we don't. like the difference between us and anybody else is very, very slight. It really does take just taking the leap, and taking some knocks and taking some failures. So I've had many failures in my life.
You said that right. It's the ability to work through those knocks and the failures. That is the key between those who are successful and not. And I'm so glad you sort of touched on that point about others think, well, I've had this, and no, you know what? After a while, when you build up some mileage, you're going to get good at what you do. I know people do the number 10,000 hours, whatever, and I don't know what the metric is. I don't know what but any given time you put into something, you're going to get better. So don't evaluate us or where we are right now, because we've built this all up. Go to, if you were to compare yourself, to where we started, then you'd be like, yeah, if they can do it, anybody can. Right? Because
Seriously,
that's a true metric.
man, if they would have, okay, so the first show I ever performed, again, Audacious.
Yeah.
I'm like,
so you were a card guy, you were a card trick guy back then, right? Is that?
Yeah. I started with cards. I mean, the thing that I got known for was producing playing cards out of air at my fingertips, the world's smallest deck of cards, add water. You know,
Man. So our audio listeners be, what the heck he's laughing at? I mean, he just literally pulled a deck of cards out of his mouth. That's
and I feel better. I've been storing that this whole time. You know, I could take a drink of coffee.
You go ahead, please do.
So the very first show I performed, I was working in a university. I was in charge of the residence program and coaching basketball, and they were having a student appreciation weekend, or not, development weekend, where they brought in high school students to have a student experience.
Yep.
And I was like, man, I've been performing magic for, students just in their rooms, just breaking the ice. And I went to the organizer and said, what if I did a magic show, for some kids? And they're like, oh, that's a great idea. Why don't we put you in the main room? We'll make you an elective, like in one of the evenings of options, and you'll have like 50 kids, and then you could do a little show. I'm like, oh, that's great. That's great. So I came up with a show. I've never done a stage show in my life, but I came up with one, and I got ready and practiced. And the night of the show, I'm backstage, and the MC comes back, and he's looking at me with big eyes. And he goes, well, we got a couple more people than 50. And I said, oh yeah, like 70? He's like, no, 500. And I was like, oh my Lord, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. Like, I was so scared.
Yeah.
Not only 500, but 500 teenagers.
That's right. That's right. And they're all watching with that eye, like, let me see if you're scrutinizing every step. There, I see what he's. Yeah.
Totally. You think little kids will shout out? Teenagers are worse. Like, you cannot suck for teenagers. They will let you know.
Right.
Well, I did this show, and it was like, I've got the footage, and I've watched it. When I watch it, I was not good. But I wasn't terrible. I passed. They didn't boo me, right? Mm-hmm. There was even some nice applause at moments. But if you looked at that guy on that stage, now you would think there is no way he's going to stand on stage in front of Penn Teller. There's no way he's going to perform in the south of France. There's no way he's going to have the confidence to go in front of like multi-millionaire CEOs and like own it. There's impossible. This kid needs to find a different thing. It's not for him. But I stuck with it. I just believed, and I just kept working at it.
That's my point.
And again, there are other things I did this same process with that didn't work out.
Yes.
And that's okay. This one did. I dreamt this. It came true.
Yes. Yeah. Listen, failures do one of two things for you, right? Well, a bunch of things they can do for you, but primarily, the primary lesson in failure is you didn't achieve what you're after, but it taught you a brand new lesson of what to do better next time.
1,000%.
Like, that's the key.
We grow up in a culture in America very strongly, and in Canada as well. You go to the motivational thing at high school, right? Yep. And the guy tells you this crazy story, and then he tells you, if you could dream it, you could do it. And that's a lovely sentiment. And it sounds very nice. But what happens is the kid then goes, okay, I dreamed this. I can do it. And they try, and then they fail. And they go, well, see, I guess it doesn't work for me. It works for everybody else, but not for me.
Right.
And it's because there's a nuance of the message that's missing. And that is, some dreams don't work out.
Right.
But they become seeds for your next dream. So it's not never give up on your dream. It's never give up on dreaming. Never give up on the process. It's the process that matters.
That is a very the nuance is extremely important.
Yes.
But it is a very, very powerful message, because it's really wrapped around this word called resiliency, and to continue to push and to continue to go forward. And we hear never quit or don't quit. There's real power in that, because if you're trying something, so hey, I want to be a magician. Let's give this a shot. Oh wow, the 300 kids I performed for thought I suck. Well, this wasn't for me. Oh, wait a second, right? So this is where now we talk about analysis. This is where the analysis is a good thing.
Exactly.
This is where it's
Exactly.
a great thing.
Precisely. Yeah. The creative process. I teach high-end executive teams this process. It's so easy. It's so simple, but it's very hard to execute if you don't understand their steps. You start with visualize, you start with dream, and you play at it. We call it brain dumping or we start with the visualize, and we don't judge our visions at first. Then we move to analysis, and we analyze why, when, how. We analyze second, and from our analysis, we create tangible, SMART goals, right? The acronym for SMART. Goals that we can execute in service of the grand vision. For example, if the vision was to build a 3-story house, you imagine it in vivid detail. Then you analyze the details of how you're going to do it. Then you create your first goal. And the first goal isn't finish the house. The first goal is start laying the foundation, right? You start with the footers. You don't think about you start with one step.
Yeah.
And then once you've finished that goal, then you evaluate the dream again. Is this the correct dream? And you keep going through this flywheel of dreaming. And over time, if you do this, where you keep reassessing your dream and keep going back to the vision, and so often we stop doing this, we get caught up in the goals and we get lost in the weeds instead of recalibrating to the dream. But if you do this flywheel, you gain momentum and this type of energy that is like, no pun intended. It's truly magical. It truly is.
Yeah. So, and I think that's where the importance of having clear milestones, because if those milestones are set in the direction of your dream, right, that tells you you're on the right path. Because you're right, very oftentimes it's at the very beginning where people quit, where people stop and say, I can't do this. And you'd appreciate this in being in the podcasting space as well, but the number of people who start podcasts and don't make it to 10 episodes, it's outstanding. Like, it's like, wow, like I don't know how much I got, like 400, whatever my number is at now, but
incredible.
Like it's like a lot of people don't even get to 10. Like,
I know.
Don't make it.
I know.
And so, and again, that's just at the very beginning. And so the idea is, if you're able to dream in a manner that is big, right, which is a starting point. So absolutely dream up here, but then you've got some checkpoints and some milestones and markers along the way. And when you get to that step, you're like, okay, all right, okay, I'm on the right path. And the other thing about this, why I love the milestones as we move along this, is when you get to that first one, you can celebrate it. You can celebrate your success.
Dang right.
Celebrating what you've done, you've given yourself energy, you're giving yourself momentum, you're even motivating yourself to get to that next level. And next thing you know, this big goal, they say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Exactly.
There.
Exactly. And let's say you set a goal and you fail the goal, and that happens too. You don't hit the target.
Yep.
So if you fail, you do the same thing. You go back to the original vision and you ask the question, is the vision still relevant? Is this question that I'm trying to answer still the question I want to answer? You go back to reevaluate, and then you go back to your goals and you go, okay, I failed. The vision is still solid.
Yes.
So what do I need to adjust? And you adjust your goal. It's okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, it's not an ultimate failure. Or you may look at your vision and go, you know what? I don't want to build a 3-story house. I was wrong. I actually want a bungalow with a pool in the back. And you adjust your vision. That is perfectly acceptable as well. This is all process. And I wish I knew this when I was a kid, because I felt like you had to have this singular focus and vision, because again, I was really driven to find my purpose, right? This singular focus and vision, and you had to pursue it at all costs, because we compare ourselves to the mega stars like Michael Jordan or Tiger Woods or something like that was a prodigy as a kid and got there. Well, most of us don't find our thing
No.
until much later. And some people, listen, I just did a podcast with a guy who started a podcast at 82 years old. 82.
I love it.
Right? Like, why not? What?
I love it.
Like, I don't care how you could be 60, 65. You're not done yet.
No,
Dream.
No. I love that. I love that. The other part of this goal journey that we're talking about and that process, I think the process that you described is a beautiful one. The thing that also happens on that pathway towards this goal, whether we make the goal or we fail. Okay, let's just talk about failing. Listen, we set the goal, we fail it. We work as hard as we could. Our blood, our sweat, our tears, our sleepless nights, our resources, everything we put into this, and it falls flat.
Yeah.
The thing that's happened that we don't realize is on that journey, we picked up some skills. We picked up some knowledge. We've developed some insights. The experiences are immeasurable. And all of a sudden, the person that we are now isn't the same person at the start of that journey, right?
Bingo.
And that is an important aspect. So it's not just the end goal, the outcome, which is I'm here. It's all the steps along the way. And remember, I talk about celebrating. We're celebrating as we go, right? And those things are I don't want people to lose sight of that because they are so important. And then I'll feed it right back into this podcast in terms of, and that's why it's so important that we take that first step and we are audacious enough to try.
Exactly. The journey is the prize. I went to this convention. I was invited to perform by the great Siegfried and Roy. It was many, many years ago in Las Vegas. And it was at this convention. And at the end of the convention, they handed a Lifetime Achievement Award. I'm sorry, I don't remember the gentleman's name, but what this guy did was he built magic props for great magicians of old, like Harry Blackstone Jr., Doug Henning, who was a Canadian, these mega stars in the 60s and 70s. So this guy was an illusion builder and a prop. He maintained the props. That was his job, and he got a Lifetime Achievement Award at this convention. I will never forget this experience. It has made a profound impact on me. He walked out on stage. They had this beautiful plaque, this ornate plaque they're going to give him for the Lifetime Achievement Award. And they gave him the microphone, and he took the microphone and he just started telling stories about this time that when he was on the road with Harry, and this time when Doug said this and this amazing thing. And he just started telling stories, and he went on for about 15 minutes until they kind of, have to get the shepherd's crook out and we got to move on with the story. And they're like, okay, thank you. And they're giving him this plaque, and he kind of gives this sidelong glance and a shrug. And this is literally what he said. He goes, well, that's what happened. So thanks for the bouquet. And he took this plaque and went on. The man won a Lifetime Achievement Award. This is literally the pinnacle of success in this industry. This is the moment you have been crowned. You are. And he's like, this is relatively worthless to me. Yes. What matters is what I just told you. It's the stories. It's the experience. It's all of this memory. Well, the good news is you and me, we're in that moment, right? Freaking now.
We're living it.
Right? How awesome is that?
I love that.
How awesome is that?
No, I love that story because it really focuses on what really is important. What really should we focus on?
That's
what really matters at the end of the day. And it's not, it's no different than, you're climbing to the top of a mountain. Well, once you get up on that peak, there's not a whole lot going on there. Right. I've talked to, some mountaineers that said, once you get there, it's a lonely place. It's a bunch of flags and that's it. Right. But it's what you've done all the way that journey is what, and the summits and the journeys and all the things that you've experienced. That's what matters. And so definitely hear that in your story. Derek, so help me understand, what kind of magician are you? Because there's different kinds, right?
I dabble in multiple areas of the art. I've performed grand illusion. I perform a lot of mentalism. My corporate work over the years, I've done a lot of corporate shows. It's pretty much primarily mentalism. That's always played really well because everybody in the work environment is trying to read somebody's mind. So when I do it in a fun way, I think it really connects to people. As of late, in the corporate world, my work is transformed into magic being illustration for communication. So I talk about important ideas and do less shows in the corporate world.
Mm-hmm.
We used to tour, before COVID wiped me out, right? Like a lot of people.
Sure.
It cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we had a tour, like all planned and booked in venues and everything. And so on the other side of COVID, it's like, do I want to do the tour anymore? Do I want to take the gear from town to town and sell the tickets? And we came to the conclusion that while I love it, and I really do, I love performing for regular folks in the regular town, we wanted to really create something that had high levels of meaning. So that's my show called Box of Wonders was created for 12 people around a table that go on a 90-minute journey into their memories, into my memories, and into this magical experience. It's my masterwork. It'd be like playing in Carnegie Hall, a virtuoso. This is that for me. Here's interesting.
And you totally created your own,
it's all me. I've worked with some of the best magic minds in the industry to select the material. I worked with a position expert named Mark Levy to really hone how to translate this for people's experience so it really makes a difference. Like, I don't want this to be a passing piece of entertainment. People are like, oh, that's very nice. And I've been getting feedback from people in New York and Philly, like this show has changed the way I see the world. It changed my life. So that's what I want to hear, right? Now, an interesting thing about dreaming and about not judging too quickly, when I came up with this idea, if I would have analyzed it too fast, I wouldn't have done it. Because 12 people around a table, where's the business case for that, right? Like 500 people in a room or 12 people, right? Like, how are you going to make money at that? Like, that's right? It's insane. Right. So when I created this, I just went fully down the dream road of like the what if I did this? What if it was this immersive experience? And because I let myself dream and process this dream with a few trusted mentors in my life, we came up with the business case. And so it's a very exclusive experience. It is expensive relatively to what you would spend for like a magic show. Sure. But what you get out of it is it's disproportionate, right? And in the corporate world, asymmetrical corporate training is something that a lot of people talk about. But in my opinion, it's the future of corporate training because nobody's retaining anything in these conferences, right? We go to them.
Asymmetrical corporate training. Define what that is, just so that we're clear here.
Yes, thank you. Well, the concept of asymmetrical training is well known in like bodybuilding and physical fitness, and the basic way to define it is the concept of overload. Okay. You overload something so that you stimulate a growth, right? Conferences can do this because they overload your stimulus. You have so much information. You have all this community at a conference, and it just like bam, bam, and it's like fires you up to make a change. Well, this goes even a step further because when people come into the experience, they don't know they're being trained. They are overloaded with imaginative sensory ideas that enable them to think about their life, their work, and their problems from an entirely different perspective. So when we get to the moment, because it's divided into 3 phases, after the magic performance, when we get to the information coming at them, they are deeply receptive, just like our bodies are receptive when we overload a muscle part. It's receptive to the nutrients to grow. Yep. That's what happens in the corporate environment. Is they're like, oh, I get it, and I know how to apply it. Gotcha. And that's like, it doesn't matter how great I sound. If you can't apply it, it doesn't matter, and it creates change.
Yeah. So it's the application piece that you just touched on. Is that
right.
Was the different? Like, look, you can go to the conference, you can read the books, you can listen to podcasts, all that kind of stuff. But the application, if that application piece isn't there,
that's right.
Always forever run into a problem and challenge. You won't get where you're trying to get to, and so that's awesome.
And it's simple. I mean, kind of like what you know, because before I jumped on with you, I went back because I wanted to get to know you better and jump back into some of your other podcasts, and like your guests are consistently talking about very simple yet practical ideas. But that's where the value is. It isn't in some like complicated formula.
Yep.
It's the simplicity of dream, then analyze, then realize, right? Like it's simple. You can do this. Anybody could do this. From the biggest corporation down to the smallest person just starting, you can implement these ideas. And that's why they're actionable.
I love it. I love it. I think it's fantastic. And
thank you.
Simplicity of how you've broken that down. And so it's Box of Wonder?
Of Wonders. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. If listeners wanted to kind of explore that Box of Wonders, or where could we send them?
Yeah, my website is my name, DerekSelinger.com. And there's a link to Box of Wonders there. There's a we have an application process. You get on the phone with one of my guys who really understands what it is, because we're looking for right connections so I could really deliver. The experience is not inexpensive. It's not cheap, but it's not inexpensive.
Gotcha.
And as a result, we want to make sure we have the right fit. So that's there. And for everybody that isn't going to hire that premier experience, probably the best place to hang out with me would be YouTube. It's again my name, Derek Selinger,
sure,
and I just talk about the things we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's a small channel.
Listen, you cannot, and please don't minimize your channel. It's a big deal. Please, it's a channel.
Thank you.
You're delivering a message. And if at the end of the day, so put it this way: if at the end of the day, one person went to your little small channel, and it made a tremendous impact on their lives, that's a big deal.
So I love that.
It is a big channel. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask if you can show us a trick or two. I mean, I know you spit a whole bunch of cards out of your mouth there a second ago. You got something you can amaze and wonder us with there?
Yes. I'm going to grab you're going to love this. It's a washer. Hold on.
Awesome.
So it's just, like a little washer
yeah,
that
washer,
you,
yeah. Little round.
If you just,
yeah, of course. Yeah. It's funny because you can watch something and slow it down and try and figure it out. And I'm sure you've got people that'll do that. Well, let me see that again. And let me do that again. And you're like, no, it's the same trick. And so it's really about actually, what is so in a trick like that? I'd say it's I'm trying to minimize it, but it's relatively simple, if you will.
Yes,
right?
yes,
right?
Yes. Yeah.
What is the key to making that trick effective?
That's a great question, because magic, there's puzzle people out there who are wired in such a fashion that they just naturally want to find the cause and effect of things. It's the way they're wired. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yes.
It's a percentage of the population that's the way they're wired.
Right.
Everybody else gets the point of magic a little easier than that group, because the point of magic isn't actually how is it done, but it's why it's done. It's the art behind the process. And when the key to magic is learning the technique flawlessly so you can allow the technique to tell the story it is meant to tell. And that's the thing that I love about Box of Wonders is the feedback I'm getting from people. Of course, they're like, man, how did that work? That blew my mind. But the feedback I consistently get after the show is engaging in the higher concepts that I'm trying to communicate. Because magic is a vehicle for surprise and wonder.
Yes.
And when our brains are surprised, what happens is we become more receptive to ideas that we had not considered. Because I think it's because what it does is it transports us back to that almost childlike state when everything was magic. It's like, what? You push that button and the TV comes on? That is incredible. That is the most, right? Like every little, right? Seriously, like, I mean, every little boy goes through a phase where all they want to do is push buttons, right? And they want to flick on lights and turn them off again. Flick it on, turn it off. Flick it on, turn it off. Flick it. My nephew was like this every day. Flick it on, turn it off. Drove his dad crazy. It was awesome. Why? Because it's magic. It's cause and effect, right? Well, I just reintroduce those ideas so that you can engage them and engage the concepts that are beyond those experiences. It's special effects for adults, in a way that really connects to our hearts and minds.
I love it. And it's beautiful because I know connection is a big part of your work as well.
Yes.
And you sort of teach and encourage that. And so, and connection is not a bad thing. I think it's something a very, very important thing in our ability to be successful as a society or as an individual.
Yes.
So yeah, we definitely do need a connection. I'm glad that we made this connection. I gotta tell you, Derek, this has been a blast.
Me too.
Super, super insightful, super informative, super fun. Love the work, love the wonder, and I'm really glad that you're able to spend time here with me on the Audacious Living Podcast and enlighten our listeners with wonder and amazement. So thank you very, very much, my friend.
My pleasure, my friend. It's clear to me why you're still in this game. Since 2008, you're an excellent host. Keep rocking it. I know you're bringing such value to your listeners.
My friend, take care. All the best. Back we are here on the podcast, and in our conversation with Derek, he shares some profound insights. In addition to showing a trick or two, but magic isn't just about tricks. It's about the moments we create together. When we allow ourselves to dream without boundaries, we open the door to possibilities that might seem impossible at first. Every decision we make, even those that lead us to dead ends, is part of the unique story. Those experiences shape us and help us realize that the real magic lies in our ability to connect, to dream, and to create. This powerful message resonates deeply, reminding us that our journeys with all the twists and turns contribute to the tapestry of our audacious lives. I encourage you to connect with Derek directly to explore more about his work and insights. We have the contact details below where you can catch up with him. I encourage you to not hesitate to reach out. He's offering an exclusive workshop on creativity and magic design to help you unlock your potential and think outside the box. Details again also are in the show notes, and be sure to check that out. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for joining us here on the Audacious Living Podcast. If you've enjoyed today's conversation, I encourage you to like, follow, subscribe, or share if you haven't already done so, because these are the ways that our podcast grows. Together, let's continue to inspire one another to live audaciously. Until next time, keep dreaming big and embracing the magic in your life. Stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by Audley Stephenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.